What's poppin', y'all? What an irony, because 21 Savage got caught red-handed botting the streams on his album, and this is looking poorly, reflecting very poorly on Akademiks, with his clear bias coming in for people that he deems as friends. Now, we're going to get into that section after we first go through, which was the first week. So a lot of people felt like the first week of 21 Savage's album, What Happened to the Streets, was it was looking a little shaky. But Akademiks would come out and say, no, listen, this isn't botting. And we're going to play you guys that clip right now.
To get it right for the slow ones in the back. This is not a case of botting. What a case of botting would be is when Kendrick, and I'm just using him as an example. I'm not saying he's the only person who bots. But if you see a wild number of streams, whether first week or first month, and then precipitously drops off, that's usually an indication that those initial streams or that period of streaming is not regular.
So here, Akademiks was correct halfway through, which was saying that these pure album sales that were filtered they didn't follow the rules that Billboard put out, which is usually you had to ship a certain amount of items or during that week for it to count. I don't know why they filtered 21 Savage's sales. They also filtered A$AP Rocky, some of A$AP Rocky's sales. He still ended up going number one. But it's when you try to do something convoluted, like for instance, the infamous head-to-head that DJ Khaled went with Tyler, the Creator. They both used bundles. Tyler, the Creator, used vinyls, but he followed all of the rules. DJ Khaled, he tried to do a mixture of, it was a sponsor that was with like some energy drink company where they packaged his album with it, something like that. And he would have gone number one if they counted that, but they didn't end up counting it. So he went number two. And this is a similar situation. The rules have updated and have become a lot stricter since then. But with 21 Savage here, it was pure album sales that were being removed. So Akademiks is saying, listen, these aren't streams. These are pure album sales. And then he references Kendrick Lamar, which, let's make this very, very clear, because I'm raising my hand right now to put out what I believe, well, which we all should believe. Kendrick Lamar won the beef against Drake. Kendrick Lamar washed Drake in the beef. Drake should not have gotten into the beef with Kendrick Lamar. I enjoy Drake's music and catalog more than Kendrick Lamar's. But we're not going to lie here that Kendrick Lamar was botting. Kendrick Lamar has faced a ton of botting allegations, false allegations from Akademiks and from other people that are Drake stans. And to date, if you look it up, Kendrick Lamar has never lost, like botting. Like, we've never seen him lose streams. And even Drake's lawyer, which we have right here, Inner City Press, was covering this with the whole lawsuit of them. Like, they were talking about universal amplifying. Amplifying is very different from botting. They just said they amplified a track that talked badly, or very, very, very badly. I didn't think that was scummy because that was a head-to-head. But they amplified a track that quote-unquote slandered Drake, one of their artists. So here it said, Drake's Wilkie lawyer, they have sent us a Rule 11 letter about only 5 paragraphs of our lengthy complaint about the use of streaming farms, which was part of the complaint. We have exchanged letters. We intend to withdraw those, but it's a tiny portion of our complaint. So even Drake's lawyer, who is filing a complaint against Not Like Us that they tried to run as Bot Like Us, and they said, okay, yeah, we're going to remove the streaming farm thing because it's not a strong claim whatsoever. So there's an example of that. And what happens just a couple of weeks later, it gets reported 21 Savage's What Happened to the Streets had 25 million lifetime streams were removed by Spotify on February 1st. All tracks from the album see alterations. So this platform, Spotify Numbers, is who's running this, and it lost 25 million. So keep in mind, the total streams is 138 million, and they lost 25. So I guess that brings it down. Well, I don't know what it was before. It was total daily streams. It lost a ton. But let's just say, was it at 150 something, 153 before, or was it at 138? Either way, this is 20%. Losing 20% lifetime streams on your album, that is egregious botting. And a bunch of people would reply. Like, for example, this person innocently replied under the tweet by Hip Hop All Day, which was just reporting what Spotify Numbers put out. And this person said, Kendrick Lamar had millions removed as well, but that didn't get this type of post, did it? So this person believes that, and I think they genuinely believe that because of false reporting from people and false narratives. And this page says Kendrick never got any streams removed from the stream counter on Spotify. So this is the stream counter on Spotify. It's not just, oh, this got removed from who knows where. And this led to a lot of people starting to talk, or during Akademiks stream, his entire stream, the chat was saying, yo, you gonna talk about 21 Savage? Yo, you gonna talk about 21 Savage? Yo, you gonna talk about 21 Savage? So he leaves it until the end. And it's important to note that 21 Savage, Akademiks, they're boys. That's his mans. That's Akademiks' mans, 21 Savage. And let's just run through this thought experiment on an alternate reality. If we got reports from the Spotify counter that Kendrick Lamar lost 10 million streams, 100 million streams, that is a big gap, but let's just say 100 million, right? We're just being proportional for the size of artist that each one is. Do you think that Akademiks would have to be goaded and constantly hounded by his stream for several hours before he talks about it briefly at the end? Or do you think it's going to be the title, the thumbnail, and the first thing that he talks about before ranting? I'm willing to guess the latter. But he finally addresses what he thinks of this for 21 Savage, and I'm going to play you guys that clip right now.
Kendrick stuff, right? Here's a point, right? I think even some of y'all were trolling me to speak about this because y'all want to politicize this entire thing to be like, oh no, Savage is doing something. Here's my thing. I'm down to call a spade as long as we're calling the spade. So if the gotcha moment is y'all want me to say, oh, Savage is botting, if y'all are saying and acknowledging that Kendrick is botting, and the proof that we have for that is that billions of his streams were deleted or removed, and now we see something removed from Savage, okay, that's cool. Let's go along with all of them botting. I don't care. I'm not that, there's Kendrick fans that try to argue against the notion that Kendrick bots, but they try to blame botting on everybody else. And if anybody in this industry seemingly has the most evidence for fraudulence or botting, it would be Kendrick Lamar. So this 25 million streams that have been deleted, I would like to know more information. I wish Spotify would release some information about why they deleted whatever.
So this is the thing. Akademiks is trying to make it like, oh, you guys are trying to get me. Well, Kendrick has billions of streams removed. If there's anybody that has evidence of billions of streams removed or the most evidence of bots removed, it's Kendrick Lamar. But my question is, where? If there is irrefutable evidence of Kendrick Lamar having bots and streams removed, then it would have still been valid for Drake to put in the lawsuit. His lawyer wouldn't have withdrawn that claim. So no, Akademiks, please show us the proof that there was because the closest thing that we got to proof, quote unquote, of Kendrick botting is some random kid that hopped on Akademiks stream while the beef was going on and saying that he was botting for people. That's it. Or he was botting for Anthony Saleh, who is currently Kendrick Lamar's manager, but that guy's worked with a bunch of artists in the past too. So no, what are we doing here? Where's the proof? This same outlet, Spotify Numbers, has never reported on Kendrick Lamar losing streams on Spotify's counter. So this same outlet, you should be able to show us them showing us streams removed, because it's not like this outlet is Kendrick Lamar focused. They're showing streams getting removed for everybody. They're posting unfiltered streams for pop acts, for country acts, for everyone. So you can just scroll through that and show us where Kendrick Lamar is. Where are his unfiltered streams? Is he losing that many streams? Come on, man. The person that's under the most scrutiny is the people at the top. So Kendrick Lamar, if there was proof of him botting, this page would have posted it and it would have spread everywhere and it would have hit Akademiks' radar for sure. But then he continues and turns this conversation around back to Kendrick Lamar and the steroid era, deflecting from his man's 21 Savage.
And is it a sanction? And I wish if artists were botting, we got to treat it like the steroid era. Artists should receive sanctions, but they should receive it publicly. Now, granted, they won't do it publicly because the record labels of these artists, like, for example, Universal on behalf of Kendrick is going to say no. Well, if you announce that Kendrick bots, his fans might stream less. It's going to hurt the business. So don't announce it. But, at some point you have to announce it. You have to announce it to let it be known that there's a shame factor and a punitive aspect of this. That you're not going to just bot, and if you get away with it, it's good. But if you don't get away with it, we just sweep it under the rug. So again, I'm saying I'm not too sure what this means. Okay? Now, granted, I'm also not stupid. If this is like, has this been something that has happened historically often for Savage? Has it only happened for this one particular album? Has it only happened one time ever for him? Is it something that normally happens? On an average of like 15 random artists, but viable artists, do they ever have negative streams? Again, not necessarily protecting, but I think the conversation that needs to be had is the overall conversation, right? Yes, we've seen Kendrick with deleted streams. Now we've seen Savage with deleted streams. I wish Spotify could address it. What does that mean? Does it mean that you guys counted incorrectly? Or these guys are cheating?
See, Akademiks says he's not stupid, but he knows when to play stupid. So he's playing stupid when he says, I don't know what this means. Man, if this was the same thing with Kendrick Lamar, he would know exactly what it means. He would make it mean something else. And then he says, was 21 Savage doing this for the previous albums? Is this a new thing? He didn't afford that to Kendrick Lamar. When Not Like Us was being quote-unquote botted, which it was not. That was the most popular song. That was the most popular rap song in the world. Trust me, I know. You went to random restaurants, random clubs at any major city in the entire globe. We're talking non-English speaking places. That song was being played there. That's not a botting thing. People will tell you that. Just name. We've got people from many different countries. We got at least one person from at least 80 countries here. Was Not Like Us popping in real life where you lived? Or not popping. Did you hear it play at all publicly? Because for other projects like 21 Savage's project, no disrespect to him, but we're not hearing any of those songs publicly, especially in other places in the world. It's a domestic album for the most part, and even then we haven't had anything stick from it. But he didn't give that credit to say like, yeah, like maybe the botting is going on right now with Not Like Us, but what about the previous albums? Like what about the Black Panther soundtrack? Like I want to know if it was going on then. I want to know if it was going on with Poetic Justice, before streams were even really a thing and it was still iTunes sales. I want to know if it was going on with Humble, right? Like Humble was a huge song. I don't know if botting was going on there. He's not asking those questions with Kendrick Lamar. Like it's a clear dislike that Akademiks has for Kendrick Lamar, which I just wish he would admit. Like he pretends like he's not a Kendrick hater, but he is a Kendrick hater. And it's because of his partially, I think he never really liked Kendrick Lamar in general. So it was easy for him to turn into a Kendrick hater when Drake came along. Like there are other people you could really come at for botting, or frauding sales and numbers like French Montana. But French Montana is Akademiks' mans. So, he's going to look the other way. And Star called this out back in, there's a clip that this page posted, Frosted Takes on X. I'm not paying anything Star related, although I do think Complex owns the footage, not Star. But listen, Star be copyright striking people, and I'm not messing with that. I'm gonna sit down and just speak on that. But he said, how are you unbiased when you're in the studio with these guys? You're making friendships with these guys. Keep in mind, this was 2018. And now we're seeing that because he's cutting bail to a 21 Savage that he would not do for 100% not do for a Kendrick Lamar. And I think the funniest part is at the end when he says, does that mean Spotify counted it incorrectly, or does it mean they're cheating? Like, yeah, man, Spotify, they just had an error in their abacus. They just weren't able to properly adjust it to count for these streams. Man, he was botting. And this isn't even like, oh no, there was one song that's a hit song that might be botted, so they filtered the streams there. No, 25 million. 25 million. That is how many streams were filtered, and it was across the entire album. So they were juicing this whole album. And it's easy to recognize that because who was talking about this album after the first 3 days? Nobody was really talking about this album. Let's be real here. Like, A$AP Rocky's album is being talked about now. Some people will say I'm biased of saying that, but listen, I've been critical of A$AP Rocky, and I haven't met A$AP Rocky. We're not friends or anything, but you can tell that there's been more conversation about A$AP Rocky's album for a longer duration of time than 21 Savage. And you could say partially that's because of Rihanna's support. Yeah, that's fair enough, but that's not the point. The point here is that the bias is getting stronger and stronger because Akademiks is getting closer and closer and building friendships with these people. And as we've seen, just from the loyalty that Akademiks has to certain friends that may have scummed him out, snaked him out, just like, for instance, how like much slack he gave to a Lil Boom, for instance, before like picture perfect evidence came out that, yo, this guy's a complete weirdo freak that deserves to be behind bars, and then he had to cut him off. That the guy's a very loyal guy. So if he's friends with a rapper, he doesn't have it in him to be objective about that person. He just can't. And it's, you could say it's like it's a positive personality trait on an interpersonal level, but to be able to be accurate and unbiased, it doesn't serve you. So in that case, you gotta not be friends with anybody, like a Joe Budden, for instance. I think a Joe Budden could still be fair and objective and have somewhat of a cordial relationship with people, as we've seen. But yeah, you can't say that. Like, this 21 Savage thing is evidence of like, dog, there's no way. If this was anybody, if this was Lil Baby, he wouldn't be asking the validity of these numbers, or if Lil Baby was buying before. So we cannot let that fly here. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Am I tripping? Or is Akademiks clearly being biased towards the man's 21 Savage here? Like, he had to be forced damn near by his audience to even speak on this. Let me know, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm gonna see you on the next one.